Hey ho, let's go. We are going to take a quick look back at the 2024 fantasy baseball season. And as always, look forward to the hot stove session, which is currently underway. The Angels making splashy moves. But before we do that, as we always do to begin the show, we start by asking you the question, where else would you rather be than right here? Booyah! Right now. You are looking live at our split studios. This is Fantasy Baseball Now, episode 14. It's part of the ball9.com podcast network. With a combined 70 years of fantasy baseball experience, Mike and I are here to talk about MLB with a fantasy spin. Sir, how be you on this chilly, frigid New York evening?
Well, it's been an interesting 7 days, to say the least.
Yeah, Kyle Hendricks.
And there's been some baseball shit too. I mean, but it's been a pretty interesting 7 days. You know, you mentioned the Angels, and I went to the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim's webpage, and I looked under job postings, and I found that they have player postings up on their website, and the criteria and the only criteria are you have to have made an all-star team at some point in time in your career, and then they've got the anti-age discrimination disclaimer afterwards.
Okay.
So Artie Moreno has decided apparently to surround himself with people of like age. And the Angels right now. The Angels are dominating the offseason. I mean,
yeah, Hendricks, Darno, and Jorge Soler. That's
a good trade. I like both signings. It's going to be very, very strange to see Kyle Hendricks in any jersey other than
but here, jersey. Look, this is why the Angels are the Angels, and why I love the Angels. And I posted this on Jessica Kleinschmidt with the A's TV network today. Who doesn't need a 69-year-old, often injured hurler who tops out at 54 miles an hour when he's healthy? Who doesn't need that?
Yeah, and who doesn't need to sign a guy in a position that's not of need when you've got a future all-star at that position already?
Sure.
It's great. I mean, they're the
Angels. Are going to angel.
They are going to angel.
They're
going to become their own friggin' adjective very shortly.
Hey, before we dive into our 2024 year-end awards, just a reminder, and maybe Uncle Ted is out there again tonight. Feel free to drop and Uncle Ted has already commented.
Uncle Ted is
man. He's coming on this show.
Uncle Ted is coming on this show.
Short side platoon bats. That's about right. And a soft tosser. Yeah, Hendry, you can't throw slower than Kyle Hendricks.
No, well, you can. I mean, I can't.
Uncle Ted, welcome back.
I did try to get a walk-on scholarship. I did try to get a walk-on scholarship at a D3 school today when a coach listed all the positions he had available in the offseason. And I said to him, I still have 4 years of eligibility left, albeit I'm 61 years old. I still can't hit a curveball. I'll kill your running game, but I'll bring grit and I can still pick it at second base. And he replied, I'll DM you. And just like the big, like laughing. He goes, never give up on your dream. And I'm like, my NIL requirements are too high. And this classroom thing, no, we're not doing a classroom thing. Like it.
So we've talked about 2024. Let's put a nice bow on it. I know the graphics department was hard at work today. Sorry. That was from last. Yeah, sorry. Oh, congratulations, LA Dodgers. Fantasy baseball MVPs.
Really? You're starting like already with that bullshit?
Yeah, I kind of had to.
Uncle Ted's gotten Japanese baseball and the KBL.
He's on a roll.
And he's probably right. Probably right, because Mr. Miyagi, the wax on, wax off, if they post them. He's older than Roki, but that's going to be very interesting in the offseason as we head into what now I'm referring to as MLB Tinder, because now it's like 1 day dates.
There you go.
So now it's 1 day dates, and Soto's in the middle of it right now, and that'll be. See
I
if I
hear
get
the Red Sox are trying to arrange a meeting to waste everyone's time.
Oh, for Christ's sakes!
With an unserious offer.
Fucking Red Sox.
All right, MVPs. Look, Shohei and Aaron Judge are the MVPs.
Yeah,
right.
There's no debate.
Them losing. So we decided who else. So we're gonna actually highlight the runner-ups. We've talked about those two all year. I will let you lead off.
All right, so I'm doing the AL and Sean's doing the NL.
Yes. Hey, we're doing MVPs, Cy Young, Rookie of the Year, Manager of the Year,
which won't be fantasy perspective, but it'll be.
And then overdrafted players and underdrafted, and all really from a fantasy angle.
Yeah. So my AL MVP is Jose Ramirez. And when you look at it from a fantasy perspective, first of all, from a baseball perspective, if Jose Ramirez isn't on the team formerly known as the Indians, they're a fourth place team, third at best. But 279, 39 homers, 118 RBIs, 114 runs, 41 stolen bases. He closed the year as the fourth ranked player in fantasy. And Soto's going to get a lot of discussion, and he rightly should in the MVP race. It's going to be like they're going to be 2-3. And Soto ended the year at 7, but for me, the difference is the 41 stolen bases are a massive difference from a fantasy perspective.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he doesn't get enough love. He's a not Gaetti NEPTA candidate for even after he's a Hall of Famer, because he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, he's a phenomenal baseball player.
Sure.
And he plays in Cleveland. So nobody. Would you decide we have faces made for radio and just bolt us off there?
I was called Radio Face back in my radio TV days at Herkimer County.
Radio Face. So that is so Jose Ramirez is my 2024 fantasy MVP, not named Aaron Judge.
No, interesting. And I agree with you. He was on my team this year. He was awesome. The 39 and almost 40-40, I think, beats out Bobby Witt. Not by a lot, but by enough. Who was great. He was great with the Royals, and same with Soto there. But
he was great with the Royals, but I mean, I guess Whittle finished second, right? Soto will finish third because he'll get the Judge drag for his numbers, but honestly, as a value to his team in totality, I mean, I take Jose Ramirez, and I take Witt or Ramirez, but I like Ramirez better.
Yeah.
Just that's just me personally. And I do love Bobby Witt. My gosh, you're in a dynasty league. He's on your team for 100 years.
I'm not sure this question from Uncle Ted means. Oh, he's Ketel Marte and Lindor money. Okay, we're going to go to the NL MVP. And look, all day I was going to pick Lindor, but it's fantasy. And the reason why I'm picking Ellie De La Cruz, Lindor had 2 more runs, same amount of at-bats, 2 more runs, 8 more homers, 15 more RBIs, and he had 16 points on the batting average, which it's not that De La Cruz was terrible. Lindor was just better there. But Ellie had 67 steals, which is insane. And Lindor, to his credit, had 24. But those 67 steals in fantasy, it's just monster. Absolutely monster.
Steals. Yeah, 67 steals in fantasy is 3. Right, 67 steals in fantasy is 3 players. I mean, you go to try to find 320 stolen base guys to fill out your roster. You can afford to carry, a no stolen base, power RBI guy.
Yeah.
And Uncle Ted, you're right about Lindor. I mean, if Ohtani didn't do what Ohtani did this year, Lindor would be the MVP.
Absolutely. And just remember, we are talking fantasy MVPs, right? But yeah, Lindor, I mean, again, yeah, if Shohei's got to run away with that award, but if not, it's all indoors.
Right.
Lindor. And the other guy I'd throw in as an honorable mention in the NL is Willie Adames, who we've talked about numerous times on here. He was great.
Yeah, he was. And you got to consider position, and you got to consider position too.
I've heard him mentioned as a fit in New York at third base. Both New York's at third base and moving Jazz to second if Glaber walks.
I know. Braves at short, Giants at third, Padres at short. I'm hearing he's everywhere.
Yep.
He's going to get a big chunk of cash. That's for damn sure.
He is only 29. All right, you want to move to the Cy Young?
Yeah, this is the easiest. This is the easiest of easy. Like I couldn't even make up a frig. I can't even make a case. I mean, I guess I could make a case for Class A, for Emmanuel Class A as closer, but like you can't make a case for anybody in the American League not named Tarek Skubal. It's impossible. I mean, the fact that he was rumored to be traded near the deadline still blows my mind. Uncle Ted, we love you. You're wrong. But, but like totally dominant, clearly back from injury. There isn't even anything to talk about with him. Like he's such a clear choice for baseball Cy Young and for fantasy Cy Young that it's not even like you put two other names up there and it's just it even makes it worse, honestly, for how dominant he was this year from in the AL. And it was a little harder, I think, but
NL was tougher to me. There was three to choose from. But look, as our good friends at 518 Bookkeeping here in Albany say, numbers don't lie. Chris Sale. And he gets it for a couple of reasons. Number one, I love Zach Wheeler. Sale was just better. He's plus 15 on the net wins, if that's a category for you. He even despite his age and his injury history, and the Braves managed him well. And maybe Chris Sale just needed to go with a team that knew how to handle pitchers, Red Sox. He threw 177 innings, 177.2, with 225 strikeouts, which is dominant, and 2.38 ERA and a 1.01 whip. And he was great until he bagged out on the final Monday. Now, I'll qualify all this by saying if Paul Skeens had been up earlier, the award would have been his. And, if he keeps going to the rate he's going to win a few of these. The thing with Skeens, as far as going with giving this award, is you got to ask yourself, who did you have in your lineup before? And you had Skeens. Who did you have if you want to say, what did you get from that position for the year? Who did you have in that role than with Skeens?
I know both. I know a guy. I know a guy that I believe remember saying in predictions that Sale was going to win the Cy Young. That guy was me. I don't get a lot of shit right, but I do remember that saying like this is the kind of stuff that the Braves do. He was completely dominant. Like Skeens is a freak of nature, but to your point, had he started the season, had he come up before May 1, he would have won Rookie of the Year in Cy Young.
Sure.
But Sale, I mean, it's closer to me. Wheeler Sale is closer to me. And from a baseball standpoint, Sale from a fantasy standpoint, probably a better choice than Wheeler.
Yeah.
Skeens probably a better choice than Wheeler, given whip and Ks per 9.
Yeah,
they did ease him down in September when they knew they weren't going to go anywhere, and Wheeler and Sale were still given everything they had.
I got to make a note. Noah Schultz, I got to research him because we've known Uncle Ted for a show at plus 14 minutes, and I trust him.
Yeah, Noah Schultz definitely got to watch for next year.
Okay.
Deep Dynasty League guys already have him, and he's not going. They're not moving him.
Yep.
Might be the preseason favorite for Rookie of the Year next year.
Speaking of Rookie of the Year, let's go with yours. And your pick is interesting, and we'll elaborate on that once you get into that. But take it away.
Look, as a Yankee fan, I love the love for Heel and for Wells. I mean, I do. I appreciate the love for Heel and for Wells. And Colton Cowser was talked about as Rookie of the Year the entire year. But I don't know why. And it occurred to me because our pal Jeff Fry, the policeman of bad hitting instructors on Twitter, former major leaguer, said, why isn't Wyatt Langford a finalist for Rookie of the Year? And then I started to, so I'm like, that's a great question, right?
Mason Miller, too, by the way.
Mason Miller, probably a better choice than Heel. To me. Heel didn't, he missed some starts, and he was great, and hopefully he has a great career, and he becomes Guidry light and all that fun stuff. But Langford, I mean, he hit 16 homers. He drove in 74. He scored 74 runs. He had 19 stolen bases, and he had better statistics than Cowser and everything except for home runs.
Yeah.
I mean, Cowser had 24 homers, but Langford had better statistics across the board statistically than Cowser did. And I don't know how he's not a finalist, other than I guess they're judging based on the fact that the Rangers were really bad. And we'll get into that when I get into my overdrafted guys. But if I had a vote, he'd be Rookie of the Year in the American League. And from a fantasy standpoint, it's not even close. I mean, Austin Wells was horrible in the first half, had a really good second half, but still, like Wells versus Cowser, no.
Yeah.
Wells versus Heel, no. None of them versus Langford, to me.
Langford got off to a really rough start. He was the guy that everybody wanted on draft day. He was the guy everybody wanted him on draft day. He was the second pick in our draft, where we, for those who don't know, we keep 5, so we're actually starting around 6. He was the second pick, and I think Rich traded up to get him.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the guy, and that's a lot to put on a young guy like that. He struggled right out of the gate, but he got his shit together as he got going. All right. Oh, Garrett Crochet, Rookie of the Year, if not. Okay. National League. Yeah, look, we already talked about him at Skeens. I mean, 170 strikeouts in 133 innings, 1.96 ERA, 0.95 WHIP. And you add to the lore of Paul Skeens. How many no-hitters did he come out of when he had him? And they did 2?
He came out of 2.
Came out of 2. I mean, could you imagine where the lore around Paul Skeens' rookie year would have been if he had gotten one of those, if not 2?
He tied Nolan Ryan for most starts in the season, carrying a no-hitter into the 6th inning next year. That's unbelievable. And that's not even. This is much harder for me. I love Skeens. I really do. But this one is much harder for me than the American League, because Jackson Merrill was friggin' phenomenal this year.
Yeah, he is.
And add to it that he played a position that he never played before in his life, and he was fantastic there.
Yeah, no, he had an incredible year. Absolutely incredible year for San Diego. He's vaulted. He is a keeper in dynasty leagues, and he's got it all going on. And yeah, Uncle Ted, I love Jared Jones. I had Jared Jones on my team, and I hurt like hell when he got hurt. He was doing awesome. And what a 1-2 punch for Pittsburgh. Mike, you follow Pittsburgh a lot closely, being in PA. They got it. Are they gonna try and build around this group? You got 2 young, lively arms and a lot to build off, or are they just the same old Pirates?
Their stadium is fantastic. Probably maybe the best stadium I've ever watched a baseball game at. It's really great.
And the one time I went there, we got about 18
for that team. The city is begging for that team to be good.
We get 18 feet of snow, or 18 feet of rain the day I drove down there.
We did have 18 feet of rain. It was interesting, to say the least. But what a phenomenal venue. They do have a great chance. They need to get a first baseman. They need to not do what they've been doing and dig into the Rowdy Tellases of the world and spend a little money. But their owner is such an idiot. He's such an idiot, and I just don't think he's going to. I don't think he's going to raise payroll. They have a great Ben Cherington's a great GM. Their farm system, I don't know. They need better hitting instructors in their farm system because these guys, Henry Davis and those guys, seem to regress from a hitting standpoint when they get their hands on them. But they got a lot of young talent. They got a chance to be really good and make a lot of noise, especially in a division that's going to be even weaker because the Cardinals are blowing it up and the Brewers, I doubt, will repeat, especially when they lose Adames.
Yeah.
I'd like them. I mean, like selfishly, as a closet Pirates fan, I'd like them to be good, but their owner is such a buffoon that as long as the team's making money, I don't think he's going to make the moves to make them a contender. I really don't. He'll be okay. He'll be okay being, 90% capacity when Skeens pitches at home, and the rest of the time just cashing the gate.
That's a shame. That really is. That really is. There's another young guy to look out for next year too, ripping it up in the Arizona Fall League.
Yeah, I've been paying attention to the Arizona Fall League. I told you last week, I said selfishly because Jake Ciani's been tearing it up.
Yep.
Pirates prospect, local kid, but Caglianone is going to be a player and a half.
Yeah, and you know what you have to do?
Durbin's making a ton of noise for the Yankees.
These young kids are more MLB ready now when they're younger and they're coming up sooner. They're not waiting. Some of them aren't waiting 4 or 5 years. They're
the college kids with a number of games they play, they're MLB ready 18 months. They just got to get used to the grind, right? The full-time grind. And once they get used to the full-time grind, then then they're ready to go. I mean, they play a ton of games. The players are great. They're not coming out now because now they got NIL money. There's no reason. to come out to get drafted and come out for, a $1.6 million signing bonus when you might be making $2 million in NIL.
Sure.
There's no point.
All right. Manager of the year. And I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, I went way off the board. And this is 100% an emotional pick. My manager of the year is Mark Kotsay. So let's not forget that their over-under was 56.5 going into the year. And all of us, including you, the fan formerly known as an A's fan, believed they were going to be under. But they finished at 69 wins. They were competitive all year.
Yep.
And they had to deal. He had to keep that team together, have them play hard, and develop some really good players in an environment where the only people that cared were the people in the locker room and the few fans that showed up until the last weekend.
Yes.
So to have to grind through that environment, make that much of an improvement, and close out the way they did, to me, he gets manager of the year. I think from a baseball standpoint, Stephen Vogt's probably going to get it.
Yeah, I'm sure
in the American League. I would be.
Quachero's going to get a lot of love from Kansas.
Yeah, he is. Well, yeah, he is. But
he's the Del Mar kid, the Bethlehem kid.
I did know that. But the Guardians won the division, and that's going to count for something.
Yeah, it will, and it should. It should. All right, Uncle Ted's not going to like this one in the National League, and Mike, you're not going to like it either. The Mets were left for dead early in the year. They were DOA, and they end up in the NLCS. You got to give
Grimace should be manager of the year.
What's that?
Grimace should be manager of the year.
Yeah, why not? Why not? Somebody. But yeah, the Brewers had a great year, but again, the Mets they were a laughing stock early on, and lo and behold, they got it together and hung together with a pitching staff comprised of journeyman, crafty guys that found a way, and then Mendoza gets the credit for that.
I agree with Uncle Ted. I agree with Uncle Ted that if I'm voting, Pat Murphy's getting it for me from the Brewers. So not only did they trade Burns, despite the fact they got some talent back, it was hurt when they got it back. And they really had Freddie Peralta. That was really their only known commodity going into the season as a starter. And they dumped Craig, like Craig Counsell left them. Like Pat Murphy was just like, all of a sudden you're the manager. And he did and they ran away. They ran away with the Central. So I don't think it's a bad choice either way. I know who it's not. It's not fucking Dave Roberts. And stop, Dodger fans. He did a great job during the postseason. I will give him the credit that he deserves. But with that friggin' payroll and that team, if they didn't make the playoffs, he should have got fired.
Correct.
So don't give me Dave Roberts as manager of the year, because that's like saying Boone should be manager of the year. No, you're handed a team, and the Dodgers are even more so. You're handed an all-star team. If you don't make the playoffs, you should be fired. It's that simple.
Absolutely.
So no Dave Roberts. Stop with the Dave Roberts got snubbed. Stop it. Just enjoy that you had a parade. Get ready to sign every friggin' Japanese player that's coming over, and just stop that. Stop that. Stop.
It's a glitch. It's the dreaded
not a glitch. You're a fucking glitch. Stop putting that up
Rudy
there.
Martzke used to talk about in USA Today every Monday after reviewing the dreaded glitch award.
I'm going to send you a hologram of me slapping you in the back of the head the next time you put that up there.
All right. Overdrafted. Who just screwed people over all year? And
welcome to the Texas Ranger Love Fest.
And the first guy on your list is the guy I traded to you.
Yeah, and the guy that he screwed me. And then so you look at his statistics, and statistically he kind of really didn't, but he was 28th ranked overall player coming in. So Marcus Semien was the 28th ranked overall player coming into 2024. He finished 74th.
He anchored himself to first base when he got on.
His average draft position was 29.4. Open draft, no save players, right? So he's a third round pick. In 2023, he was 276, 29 homers, 100 RBIs, 122 runs. In 24, he was 237, which is a big dip, but he still had 23 homers, 74 runs, or 74 RBIs and 101 runs. But he wasn't worth the 28th player. Number 2 was Kevin Gausman. Kevin Gausman was average draft position was 47.71. So he's in a 12-team league. He's still in the 4th round. He was ranked 38. He's now 162 finishing the season. And his whip was comparable year over year. His ERA went from 3.16 to 3.83. But the killer for him is he went from 237 Ks in 105 innings to 162 Ks in 81 innings. And maybe he was not healthy. Maybe he wasn't. So as a disclaimer, I didn't take guys that missed time. Lots of time. Because Corey Seager and Royce Lewis would have been at the top of this list. Because they were ranked and drafted higher than all these guys. But they missed way too much time. It'd be the same thing as saying Acuna in the National League. And you may have him, I don't know. But when you miss that much time, it's kind of hard to, it's harder for me to judge. And then third is Aroldis Garcia. And the reason, so he was shockingly, he was ranked 49 coming in, and his average draft position was 62, which is kind of surprising because when you're, 25 homers or 39 homers, 109 RBIs and 108 runs, I would think you'd be drafted higher coming in. From 49 to 108. off a 224, 25, 85, and 68 runs. That's it. Like that. I mean, they were talking about long-term contract for him. They were talking about he can't get traded. He can't. And Uncle Ted, Luis Robert definitely gets.
Yep.
Anybody that wore that dreaded uniform this year is in consideration, because had they been drafted, because Crochet wasn't even ranked, anybody else that would have been ranked that was drafted, no. Like they're like that team boycotting all righty bats this year.
You know who else really earned that list? He got himself probably the last 6 weeks was the Rosarina.
Yeah.
And
mid-season, he was the most disappointing player. I think at mid-season we ranked him the most disappointing player in the American League.
Because you want to play him. And you look at he's hitting 167, and you're like, this guy, what's he doing?
After he got traded.
He got it going a little bit.
It took him a couple of weeks to get going in Seattle, but once he got to Seattle, he started getting going a little bit.
All right, National League. And you know what? Fair or not, life isn't fair sometimes. I got Acuna number 1 just because I know he got hurt and he can't help it. But still, people invested so much in him. Like in an open draft, first pick, right? Had to have been the first pick with his speed. It wasn't Shohei.
He was number 1. He was ranked number 1 everywhere. Going into 2024.
Yep. And the thing about it is that, like, you put him there because, like, Shohei had the gambling scandal, which helped him drop to 5th in our head-to-head league. Thank you. But yeah, Acuna, and now you got to wonder what's his point, or what's his value in a dynasty league, because now this is 2 major knee injuries. Is he going to run the way he did? It's an absolute horrible shame. The guy that talented is having this trouble with injuries, and that just bothers me. But it is what it is. But yeah, he was overdrafted because it's not his fault to get hurt. But when you have that much of an investment, that's just killer. Number 2 is a guy you're familiar with, Nolan Jones, who was kept in our league. Sorry. 256.
I egged his parents' house on Hell Night. Not going to lie.
3 homers, 28 RBIs, 28 runs to go with that bulky 227 batting average.
And he was standing in the front yard, and he was standing in the front yard, and he swung and missed at every single one of them.
I mean, my God, you think he's going to send to the Dante Bichette, Todd Helton thing, and he becomes, who? I don't know. Third, it's not really fair to pick on Jordan Walker. He was the Wyatt Langford of 2023. He was the phenom that didn't cut it his rookie year. Didn't have a lot of expectations this year, but you know why guys like Jordan Walker are killer? Because somebody will draft him, maybe probably cut him. Somebody will pick him up to hold a roster spot. Maybe you play him in hopes that this is the time he gets going. And he was dog shit. 201, 5 homers, 20 RBIs, 16 runs. Any draft capital you spent on him was a waste because you put him in your lineup because you have to find out, right? Maybe that's just me.
You can't help yourself when you read the entirety of the hype around a player. He's a perfect candidate for he needs a trade. He needs a change of scenery. He needs to get out of that organization. He needs to go someplace else. He needs to go. You traded Jack Flaherty for Nolan Jones. I saved him. I kept Nolan Jones.
Kept him in our league.
I mean, they passed him over. They passed him over for other guys during call-ups after he got sent down. They were working him at third base because they were talking about trading Arenado. I mean, they have screwed with him more than you can possibly imagine, and he hasn't helped himself in the process.
No, he hasn't. All right, underdrafted.
Yeah, Sacramento A's Fest, and it's a good way to close out the season, the 2024 season, because the most talked about player on our show this year is on this list. So first for me is Mason Miller, and so he was 251 average draft position. He started the year at 182. He ended the year at 143. I take relievers with a grain of salt, but to have 28 saves, a .88 WHIP, and 104 Ks in 65 innings out of the closer spot, he was definitely drafted too low, especially compared to the Clay Holmes and the Craig Kimbrells and the Kenley Janssens and the list that goes on and on and on and on of closers that were drafted way before him that weren't even close to what he was. So second is, and I was shocked by this. I'm shocked by this in a couple ways. So Brent Rooker going into the year was a 40th ranked player on CBS, and he finished 10, which is amazing.
He never slowed down.
His average draft position was 245.
Yep.
Like, are you kidding me? He missed the batting triple crown, the individual triple crown, which is 330 homers and 100 RBIs. He finished at 293 with 39 and 112. He's not slowing down. Like, he is what he is, right? So now he's 10th for a reason. He'll probably be overdrafted this year. Probably be overdrafted. Probably be saved in dynasty leagues. Probably a mistake. Clearly a trade candidate, especially this year. And then last but not least is the guy that I feel like we talked about pretty much every week for about an 8-week run.
Yes.
Is Seth Lugo. So his average draft position was 218, which is the 18th round in an open draft. Like, that's low, right? I mean, that's a low spot. And he started the year as a 197th ranked player. He finished at 40. And he was a 109 WHIP guy, a 3 flat ERA, but he threw 206 innings and he had 22 quality starts. So in a position that you can't count on for squat,
yeah,
he was as consistent a pitcher as you could have asked for performing over his average draft position as there was in baseball this year.
No, he was great. I picked him up. I listened to you on one of the first weeks of the show and went and picked him up, and he was a mainstay. He was great.
Yeah, Uncle Ted's getting some great names. Kerry Carpenter, yeah. Kirby Yates, absolutely. I mean, Sal Perez was drafted very low this year. Flaherty, Shota Imanaga is very quickly becoming my favorite player in the National League. just because he's like a cartoon character in Chicago, and he has completely embraced being here, and he loves it there, and he's like a folk hero in Chicago, which is a cool thing. That's a Cubs thing for sure. But he also wasn't as highly considered because he's a little older coming over. But I mean, he's another guy. He's another guy, National League Rookie of the Year, that would get. I mean, despite the fact of his age, is going to get serious consideration for Rookie of the Year.
He almost made my list, but I took Flaherty over him. And Jurickson Profar, I put number 1.
Oh yeah.
I mean, sometimes you forget that he's even in the league. He was preseason ranked 428th and finished 31st.
That's amazing.
280, 24 homers, 94 runs, 85 RBIs, 10 steals. Again, for a guy that he I hate to say it, in my mind, he can be a bit of an afterthought. But like I said before, numbers don't lie. Great year for San Diego.
He's only 31.
I would have guessed he was 54. He feels like he's been around forever.
Sure does. And he wasn't even on a team until like midway through spring training.
Yeah. I got Flaherty on there.
And he made the All-Star team. Unbelievable.
I got Flaherty on there for just a great rebound. I mean, it looked like he was going to be out of baseball soon. Gets it together. Could you imagine the Tigers if they had kept him? When they got going down the stretch, they could have used him in playoffs. But 13 wins,
sure
3.17 ERA. I took him, Uncle Ted. I took him over Imanaga because of the strikeouts. Flaherty struck out 194 guys, which
Don't be
was just,
surprised if he lands back in Detroit.
I heard Bregman maybe going there too to
Yep,
match
I've
up
heard
with Hinch. And then Brenton Doyle, I generally don't throw a lot of props to Colorado players because I just don't buy the hype. 23 homers, 82 runs, and 30 steals is phenomenal. For a guy to watch, and maybe you can pick him next year, and he'll turn into your Nolan Jones.
I will not be doing that.
Okay.
I will not be doing that. I've crossed the state of Colorado off my list of considered players forever. That's it. Alec Burleson's a great choice. Uncle Ted. He had a crazy year compared to projected. He didn't. He never stopped. I thought he got off. We talked about him a couple of different times. He was in the stardom sit-em and must grab. Togli is you got to find a position, but
here's another guy, Uncle Ted. You're right, Colorado. There's another one with the Rockies.
Yeah, he's got to find. They got to settle him on a position, so he's got a place to play, and they got to leave him in the damn lineup and let him hit. That's just what you got to do. I mean, it's just they got to leave him in a lineup. It's not like they're gonna. The owners already said 500 is okay. So if 500 is okay, and you're going to develop guys, just put them in a lineup, let them play.
Let them play.
They got some good young. They have some good young players there, and they got a great trade chip in Ryan McMahon if they want to use it. But it doesn't sound like they want to.
Well, let's go to the hot stove report. It's been slow. Anytime the Angels are dominating the headlines, it's slow. Soto, do you think it's going to be quick, or is there going to be a Boris drag it out, make it a soap opera thing, or get it done? And
I think if Boris has any, if Boris learned anything from last year, and he wants to get his other guys signed, Soto's going to be quick. Because everything everybody's plans that are in the Soto Derby hinge on Soto and where he ends up. And the thing that gives me a little bit of anxiety about this whole thing is the Mets have a truckload of money. They've only got 162 million committed. It might not even be that much with projected arbitration eligible awards. They may only have 162 million committed for next year right now, which means they can afford Soto, re-sign Alonso, and go get one of those pitchers if they want, and they'll still be under 300 million in payroll. The Yankees, on the other hand, have room to sign them. They definitely have room to sign them. I think they're going to make a better case. And I think that Hal, I just get this gut feeling that this might be the guy that Hal's like, I want this guy, and kind of like with Cole, and we're not going to lose. And then we'll let whatever else happens with the roster happen with the roster. We'll see if these prospects can play, and we'll get some guys on the cheap, and we'll build a bullpen. Maybe we'll make one little split, like a Tanner Scott move, or we'll pay a little over for somebody. But everybody else that's involved in this, I don't think in his mind they're serious contenders for him.
Yeah.
I thought the Cubs would make a run at him, but the Cubs have said they're going to be fiscally responsible, and they're talking about trading Nico Horner and open to offers for Bellinger coming in. So, like they're saying mid-tier for pitchers. Like I wouldn't be shocked if, like Fried to me is going to be the Red Sox or the Cubs. That's where he's going to end up. The Red Sox say that, like they came out of the meeting, the owners' meeting, saying that the agents are saying the Red Sox are open for business. I'll believe that when I hear it. Open for business for them last year was signing Lucas Giolito, and that came back to bite them bad. But they do get him back.
So amazingly, he picked up his own option.
Well, shocking.
Of course I would.
Shocking, right?
When you're that bad and that injured, yeah, I'm taking the option all day. Here's the thing with Soto and the Yankees and the way I see it. And I think he's going to end up a Yankee. For the sake of this show and the comedic value, I'm praying he goes to the Mets. But I just think if Hal doesn't break off of his budget and sign him, this is his legacy that he let Juan Soto, a 26-year-old generational player, go. And he can't carry that baggage. He's got to sign him.
No, he can't. And it's easy to spin it. It would be very easy to spin it if the AAV is 46 or 47, which is kind of the number that it looks like it's going to happen. And that's a great point, Uncle Ted, because the Nationals are going to spend some money this year. They're going to surprise people with what they spend, I think. Like the pivot is if you end up with Christian Walker, Teoscar, and another frontline starter, you can spin that we strengthened our team. We can't go on one player. We've already done that. Blah, 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 blah. Hey, Sausage King of Texas.
Syracuse sausage. Can't beat it.
Wouldn't know. Used to know. Don't know anymore.
Free samples for the host would be good. Just
no, you get a sponsorship on here if you want, but no, we here we go again with this. I don't know why he comes on. He knows he's going to get bludgeoned when he comes on.
Yeah, hey, he just got back from Vegas. Good
for him. Toronto's got the discs.
Sorry,
Toronto's got the discs.
Yeah, I kind of felt bad. It was his birthday recently. I threw him a happy birthday shout out, and I
his
really should have.
60th birthday.
Maybe I'll just do it now and just, hey man,
I know
that night in Phillyons when I soiled your leg at the bar. I'm sorry. I apologize.
I'm not. Hey, Dennis, did you get the walker I sent you as a birthday present? Because I sent you one through Amazon. It's only a one-legged walker though. It's more actually a cane.
The value of bar space in a crowded college bar.
I know.
Sorry.
Yeah, Dennis went out to celebrate his 60th birthday as a family and friend trip. So I'm not asking for pictures, and I'm guessing he didn't go to the zoo, also known as Spearmint Rhino, for those of you that have ever been to Vegas.
What'd you do? Is that you or me? I don't know. Okay.
But don't accuse me of doing anything, man.
Got it. All right. Yeah. So the other guy I want to talk about is Blake Snell. You're trying to trade him to me. What's his deal? Is he?
What would you give him? What would you give him?
I don't know.
How many years would you give him?
I don't know. Uncle Ted, what do you think of Blake Snell? I get scared of a guy that doesn't pitch into the seventh inning unless he has a no-hitter going.
I'm not going more. I'm not giving him 5.
No.
You giving him 4, 126, 127, 32, 33 million AAV? Good possibility. It's a good possibility that he goes to the Rangers. They need pitching.
I don't know. 3 for 90. That'd be interesting.
Yeah. I think he might get a little more than that. I think he might 3 105. I think he'll be closer to 35 than 30 AAV. Off of Cy Young and off everything he did after he got back from injury. But 3 for 90, like if I'm paying it, that's fair for me.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if he's going to be hurt or not. But I do know that when he pitches, he's going to be unbelievable. Because he's nothing short of spectacular. And he played it the right way. And like those 3 guys, right? So Chapman's smart. He signed the extension that was offered to him.
Yep.
And doesn't have to go through it again. Montgomery's going to get traded. He picked up his option, which is brilliant because he's terrible last year. He's going to get, and they're going to trade him because they're going to trade him. They're going to trade him to fix other things, and they're just going to get him the hell out of there. You should. DeGrom should be in italics because like 8 starts of DeGrom would be a lot. Michael King, that's interesting too. Michael King's a free agent, I think.
Is he really?
Yeah.
200 strikeouts this year.
He had a great year last year. Started the year walking a lot of guys, kind of similar to Heel, and then his walk rate dropped like crazy, and all of a sudden he was like right next to Cease as the best pitcher on that staff.
He is
Kumar
not.
Rocker's fun, man. Kumar Rocker's a good story.
King's a free agent after next year.
Well, Padres say they're going to spend. What else is new?
All right. Look,
the Padres have been linked to, of all people, Carlos Correa. And what now? You're gonna trade for another shortstop that you're gonna move to another position?
Yeah, right.
Where would it shock you if the Padres traded Tatis in the offseason?
What are you going to get for him? Right?
You're going to get a lot.
You're going to get a lot.
You're going to get a lot.
No.
You're going to get a lot. You're going to get a major haul for him. But that contract is ominous, right? It does hamstring you a little bit from doing some things with your team. He's not necessarily a winning player. They were winning without him. They won without him in a lineup that already.
You get to trade the motorcycle with him. Is that part of the package?
Yeah, you get to trade the motorcycle, the PEDs. You get to trade the whole thing. He'd be a disaster in New York. He'd be a disaster in New York or Boston. He'd be a mess.
Mike, I think that's for you.
So that's a great question. No, I wouldn't. I don't like Crochet's demands. But the Spencer Jones piece to me is the most interesting of all that. So Ben Rice, we already saw what Ben Rice is. Spencer Jones, to me, is starting to become this next prospect that we're going to hug to the point where you choke the life out of him. And he strikes out a ton. He'd be a great fit on the White Sox because he'd be Adam Dunn 2.0. Big guy. He's going to hit a pile of home runs. He's a fairly decent fielder, but not spectacular. But he strikes out way too much. And he's not going to fit unless something miraculous happens and he ends up starting the season at first base there next year. He's not going to fit in that lineup. And look at the same situation with Dominguez. Do you trade him or do you – if you're not going to play him, if he's not your starting left fielder going into next year, then you might as well just trade him at this point and get what you can get. And if he has a good career someplace else, then so be it. But the Yankees are win now. This holding on to prospects, hoping that they're going to be great to fill in and try to duplicate the core five. It missed me with the core four Yankee fans because Bernie, no World Series, so stop. But this constant notion that we have the greatest prospects in the world and then they never pan out to be squat. And unless they go someplace else, like what are you getting for somebody? Like we got Soto for King. King was great last year. I'm glad King was great last year. We had Juan Soto last year. Made it to the World Series. So it's probably time. It's probably time. I'm with you on that one. I'd rather trade Jones and Dominguez. I think Dominguez has better sustainable talent than Jones. I think Jones is a flash. Yeah, two lefty 6'6" mashers for the White Sox. They can be, maybe they'll win 100. Maybe they'll only lose 108 games next year.
Right.
Be a 13-game improvement though. They hired the right guy. They hired the right guy. They hired the right manager. I think Venable was a good move by them. I think they hired the right guy.
Okay.
All the young guys in Texas rave about Will Venable, and that says a lot. And they got some great young talent on that team. So when the young players are raving about him, that means he had an impact on young players, and the White Sox are ridiculously young. It's not like they're going to. It's not like Jerry Reinsdorf's going to spend a nickel. He's trying to blow that thing. He's trying to make that thing unimaginably bad.
Trying to John Fisher it so we can go to Nashville.
Yep. That's exactly what he's trying to do.
Crazy as that would be, take a team out of Chicago. Anywho, next week, what do we got coming next week? We're going to plan next Tuesday, right?
Next Tuesday we're on. We've got the league champion from, if I can remember the name of the league, it'll be amazing. But someplace in my texts, this is a filler. This is good podcast work right now. Me scrolling my phone while we're.
That's all right. Uncle Ted is still chiming in. He's like
the Diamond Degenerates, league champion who much like Uncle Ted did a show takeover and pretty much their entire league, and it's a pretty fun league. It's a league that it'll be great because I rank these teams after their draft, and I can't wait to see like where. I think their champion I ranked like 10th, and he ended up winning it. So it's like they have a lot of fun telling me I don't know what I'm talking about, which like, no shit. Like
you don't.
I got kids. I mean, it's not like I don't already know that.
The great part about Uncle Ted is he has very quickly become the Howard Cosell to our Frank Gifford Dandy Dawn thing.
Yeah.
So always welcome to join us.
Yeah, Uncle Ted, if you want to do a live spot, you'll be more than
Uncle Ted. Find a way to get in touch with us, buddy, and we'll get you on here. And yeah, football. Look, thank God I had the Raiders and the Huskers on a bye week this week, and all I really had to do is sit back and watch New York Jets football Sunday afternoon, and Devontae Adams dropping passes.
Boy, I'm glad I didn't spend money on a flight to go to Phoenix this weekend like I had originally planned.
That would have been fun.
El Jefe was at the game.
Was he?
Yeah.
He gets around. He's everywhere. He is everywhere. All right. We will next Tuesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Hit the like button, subscribe so you know when we're coming on.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Hoosiers, Ohio State this weekend. Hey, we're in the midst of college football. And college basketball is ramping up. Carolina's already pissed me off, so we're
on a good note. You have a chance because Duke, Kentucky tonight, so maybe Puke University can get saddled with an L, and I can stop hearing about this freshman phenom who will bust out in the NBA.
You're gonna hear about him for 15 years, man. That kid is a phenom. That kid's a freak of nature and a phenomenal basketball player.
What time's that IU Ohio State game? Now that you guys are talking about it.
Oh, that's a good question.
Let's find that out.
It should be Big Ten Saturday night, but it won't be. It'll probably be like the 3.
Let's find this. Where is it? There it is. Hold
on. Maybe Utah can ruin Coach Prime's day on Saturday, but I doubt it.
No, Indiana, Ohio State's the 23rd at noon.
The 23rd.
23rd. Now, the big one this week, all eyes are on Southern California when the Huskers go west to USC.
It might be it very possibly could be. It could very possibly be the death knell for Lincoln Riley this weekend.
I hope so. We need a win. We need to get a bowl game. I don't care if it's the Mayo Bowl, the Pasco Bowl. I could play here at Shaker High School 2 minutes from my house. Just give me a freaking late December, January game for the Huskers. Just get me a bowl game.
Who's left on their schedule?
At USC, Wisconsin at home, and at Iowa. And Iowa just seems to really enjoy knocking us out of bowl contention every year. So we got losing at UCLA last week was just a soul.
UCLA is playing.
They're getting better. Football. They're getting better. I mean, look, you want to know my agony? I'll tell you how in tune I am with my teams. Both my teams, the Raiders and the Huskers, fire their offensive coordinators during their bye weeks. That's how bad it is.
Yeah, it's definitely Luke Getsy's fault, Oakland and Las Vegas. Vegas. Clearly his fault.
Minshew misery. He sucks anyway, but Getsy was terrible. But yeah,
Shador's
even Marcus Satterfield, he didn't get fired. He got demoted to tight ends coach, but he got fired.
So. You're gonna have Shador in prime time next year.
No, I don't want him in Vegas. I don't want Shador in Vegas.
You're gonna have him.
I don't like the personality fit with the city. I just don't like it. There. No, he wouldn't. No,
he'd be great.
No, he'll be great in the Big
Apple.
Exactly
what you need.
Wearing the JETS Jets.
Nah. We're not going to pick high enough to get him, I don't think.
No, Jera's going to trade up to number 1, draft Shador, and hire Primetime as his coach because he's just got to keep the service going.
Yeah, that you know what? That's a kind of scenario that actually starts to make some level of sense because then the Jets would be just stupid enough to make a trade to pick up Dak's $90 million cap hit for next year because we're going to get rid of Rodgers, but we're a quarterback away, so let's bring in Dak. And like that's the kind of like the.
Should we do a show on why the Jets had a better record with Zach Wilson at quarterback than Aaron Rodgers?
I just literally at like 5 o'clock I had finally calmed down from the anger that was Sunday, which was led up to with all these fucking Jet fans saying if these teams lose, we'll be in the Broncos lost, the Colts lost, and if we win today, we're like, well, how about we just get 1-game winning streaks? That would be great. That would be really nice.
Devontae Adams said it. And that'll look like a team that's going to run the table.
And they get totally embarrassed, right? So like I just finally start to get calmed down, and Zach Rosenblatt posts on the X, the People's News. Look forward to another great Jets practice week this week. The best practice week team in the NFL. And I had just had a new screensaver delivered to me today and had not yet put it on, or I would have thrown my phone 100 yards and obliterated it. But I'm like, I don't want to buy a new phone today. So instead I kicked my dog and ding dong ditched my neighbor, and then that felt better.
There you go. All right. Next Tuesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, we'll finally get a fantasy baseball champion on this show, at least for this year.
This is going to be fun because these poor bastards think they are pretty good trash talkers, but much like my son found out the second week of basketball last year when he started talking trash and then got called out. And I'm like, dude, you're talking trash against people that were raised talking trash. like what are you doing? What are you doing? Like you guys talk trash and you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings because it's done wrong, because you don't want to make somebody feel bad. And that's how we were raised.
By the way, but speaking of that, you were handed almost a 300-point loss in basketball.
Yeah, I was annihilated
in the history of the league.
Yeah. The NBA's not been kind to me. There's a few injuries, not to say the very least. There's a few star player injuries already in the NBA. It's a little scary with all these guys for a couple of weeks, and Chet's out now 8 to 10 weeks. And the Thunder just keep on rolling. But you did. You gave me a good old fashioned ass whipping.
I think I won 3 games all of last year, and I'm sitting there. Old school basketball is 3-0 this year.
Well, I said you got the best roster in the league.
I heard that from Boogers Baseball today, because no one's going to touch you if you're healthy. I'm like, thank God I have to stay healthy, because I couldn't tell you half of who my players are, and certainly nobody on the free agent wire. I don't know who they are.
You have the most motivated player in the NBA on your roster.
Jason Tatum, baby.
Yep. The most motivated player in the NBA, without a doubt.
All right.
He can say anything he wants, and he can be as politically correct as he wants to about not playing in the Olympics. He can say it. He's said all the right things. I give him a ton of credit. I give him a lot of credit. He's a good player. He is he's got the most massive chip on his shoulder of anybody in the league this year.
Yep.
And
And
he's playing
somehow,
well.
some way, the rest of the league allowed me to draft him in the first round with the 6th pick and Anthony Edwards coming back. I don't know how I did that, but I did.
I don't either. I'm still trying to figure that out.
Yeah, I'll take it.
I know how. I know exactly how. My first 2 rounds were auto picked, or you wouldn't have any.
There you go. All right. Next week, fantasy baseball champion. More hot stove.
Yep, the Diamond Degenerates in the house next week. Should be interesting. These pack of retards, but it'll be what it'll be. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't say that.
No,
These mentally challenged. These. Well, I can now. I'm sorry. We're it's a fresh start. We're back to
right.
We're back to say what you say. So
don't start that. I haven't watched news in a week, and I'm on break.
Hey, I'm already paying attention to 2026 CBA because MLB CBA is coming up in 26.
Oh, great!
And I'm on the. I am starting the grassroots, full-fledged push at MLB PA for a salary floor in baseball.
The floor in there.
And if they don't make that the number one priority, especially given the fact that many players spoke out about penalties for owners that just don't give a crap.
Yep.
If they don't make that a priority, that there's a floor.
Yep.
Then they have totally missed. Then they're just as tone deaf to what the fans want as the owners are.
Yep.
Rob,
100%. 100%. All right, man.
We're out.
We are out.
Happy birthday, Dennis. Glad you survived Vegas. If I was there, you wouldn't have. But what are we gonna, what do we do?
All right. We'll catch up to you next week.
Later.